I find it quite odd that a chapter when Luffy uses Conqueror's Haki is in the same chapter as when Nami actually goes full-on body flash and uses Happiness Punch, which is basically the female version of Conqueror's Haki. It's pretty funny in my opinion. But, okay. That moment was hilarious. I already sense a lot of fan art, doujins, and everything just being created from that one panel alone. I'm willing to bet that there probably already is. Like, there probably already is an entire picture made by the fan base on that scene or a doujin. I already sense it. Because Nami is a pretty popular character, especially when it comes to One Piece. One Piece is very popular, so I just definitely sense it. But, holy crap. Like, that was a very unexpected little detail to this chapter, which, by the way, it's very obvious that Oda seems to be doing this intentionally at the moment. Like, I think a few weeks back, like I said at the end of my last, chapter, I was going to say episode, but last chapter review, I talked about how there was, an article or something that came out to where Oda was asked, how do you feel about people making, art of your characters? Like, for instance, 18-plus art. And Oda's like, I don't care, it's pretty good, go for it, go all for it, I don't really care at all. And so, I wonder, because of that little interview/article that Oda had and what he said, I wonder if that's the reason why we're having stuff like this happen in this chapter and the previous. I'm kind of curious about that, because it just seems like this is something Oda is just doing intentionally. The way he's going about it is just different from what he's done in recent times, or, it's since the New World, so I am kind of curious about that. But anyways, Sanji, he got, honestly, probably one of the biggest W's he's ever received in the entirety of this series. I mean, I guess his biggest W was when Pudding kissed him, and then is like, I love you. And so a girl technically fell in love with him, wants to be with him, gave him a kiss, and so I guess that's the biggest W that, Sanji has ever gotten in a very long time, or one of the biggest W's. But this scene, though, with Happiness Punch and Sanji, that man can die happy. That man legit is like, I can die right now. I can die and be at peace. He's like, I found my all blue. That's what Sanji's probably thinking at this time. Which, by the way, I am kind of curious about something. We know how, most likely, when this series is said and done, Sanji might end up with Pudding. Unless something happens to Sanji or Pudding. But it's probably that's going to be the case. They're probably going to end up together. And if that really is the case, I wonder if Pudding is going to look at Sanji's memories, completely look at everything he's done, his journey, to kind of see what he's been through, and then notice this one scene, maybe at the end of the series, and it's going to be a little comedy skit, and, she's going to completely cut it from his memories. I would laugh. I would legitimately laugh so hard if, Pudding is sitting there looking through his memories, she sees this, and she's like, he just snips it out and just removes it and puts maybe herself in that moment, how she can edit things. It'd be funny if she edited herself in that. I mean, it'd be hilarious. I would absolutely die if Pudding did something like that at the end of the series because of just this whole Nami thing that happened. But okay, anyways, Hawkins and Drake. Very interesting little interaction they had with Sanji at the end of the chapter. So, it's not just Law that's a fanboy. It's not Law that's just a comic fanboy of Germa 66. It's actually Hawkins, and it is also Drake. Hawkins and Drake both have read the comic, both from North Blue, obviously, that love Germa, it seems. They just love the actual comic. And I'm just like, really? I never expected Hawkins or Drake, of all characters, to be like that, especially Drake. I mean, ever since his introduction, he's a very serious character. I mean, he always gives off this aura of just seriousness, and he just never drops that. And his reactions in this chapter was so different from anything I expected. I mean, number one, the man being very weak-willed to women, and just seeing how he fell backwards when he walked into the mixed bath, blew my mind. I was like, oh, okay, that was a little bit of a detail I did not expect from Drake, of all characters. He's a very wholesome, shy boy. That's definitely what that is. And so, there's definitely something common in there with Sanji and Drake. I wonder if they might have a conversation about it because of just how similar they really are. They give off this look of seriousness, but then as soon as women are a part of it, it's just like, collapse. So I am wondering if that might be a future conversation between the two characters. But yeah, Drake, very interesting personality, different from what I expected, and also the comic being added on that, them knowing about Stuff Black and all that, I'm just like, okay. Which, by the way, speaking of Stuff Black, that is something I've been wanting to talk about. And it's something I have mentioned before in my previous chapter reviews, and I'm willing to bet the community's already dived into it a lot, but it's so strange to me that all of North Blue really already knows about Germa 66 and all of its abilities, their designs and stuff. For instance, Stealth Black, which is Sanji. I'm just like, you know, for them to know so much about this, well, how did this information become public knowledge? Yes, for a comic, but how did this information leak? Did the comic come from Germa? Or did, you know, Germa Judge, did he actually design the outfits and stuff off of the comic? That's what I'm kind of curious about, because it's not ever been properly explained why there's a comic, and there's so much about this secret, you know, family, the Vinsmoke family, but there's just so much of it out there. People know about it. I'm just like, that doesn't make sense to me. So, I wonder if we'll find out eventually. For Oda to keep bringing this up constantly about how people know about Stealth Black or just, you know, Germa 66, it's bound to be an answer. There's bound to be an answer to why everybody knows and why, you know, the secret family, you know, this technology that Germa's made is just out in the open like that. But okay, one other thing, let's talk about Luffy. Let's shift over to Luffy because, honestly, the whole Nami stuff, it's a very simple segment. It's hilarious with Happiness Punch, so let's get into the whole Luffy segment of the chapter. So, Luffy, I had a good laugh from him. He gets a collar put on him, which is basically what the Celestial Dragons put on people. And soon as it's put on him, you have it to where he's like, oh, you're a good guy, you removed my handcuffs and all that, I've already basically escaped. And he's like, thank you so much, man, thank you, you're a good guy. And I'm just like, Luffy. Like, Luffy! Like, bro, what are you doing? And then you have Queen's like, do you know I basically just put something much worse on your neck compared to the handcuffs? He's like, you're not getting that out. Or getting that off. I'm just like, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, it's obviously not sea stone. So, it's not really going to do that much. Which I'll talk about in just a second. But seeing Luffy's reaction, that, like, thank you, basically allowed us to escape, I'm just like, yeah, poor Queen. I kind of feel bad for this man. He basically just opened the door up for Luffy to be able to get out like nothing. Which, by the way, let's talk about that. So, the Sea Stone collar Luffy has on him, to kind of get the details of what was described, it's basically stated that if Luffy was to leave the sumo ring, if he's knocked out, it instantly activates and just, like, the blades come out and decapitate them, completely destroy them, and it was able to go through solid stone. So, the blades obviously have a lot of force and strength to be able to rip apart probably the strongest bodies. It most likely could probably penetrate through Haki. Okay. And that's the point here, though. Even if it might not be able to pierce the strongest of Hakis, maybe Muscle Form Gear 4 Luffy, it is a pretty powerful device. But I think because of how Luffy is as an individual, that honestly, that collar is really not going to do much to him at all, which is why he's probably not even worried, because you got to think about it. Regardless if he doesn't have Haki, Luffy probably could easily get that off of his head, technically. Since he's rubber and he can stretch around, he could technically just smash his head down and fit straight through the collar like it's nothing. And he could easily just pull it over his head. Now, the same can't be said about Hyo, but he, at the very least, could definitely pull it out like it's nothing, and he could just get it off his head. But another thing, too, is if Luffy goes into Gear 4th mode, because of his overall mass and how he would just blow up like a balloon and all that, I wonder if it would actually shatter the device, because that's not really clarified either, because we don't really know the durability of it, since technically it's probably not sea stone. And as we've known for a while now, sea stone apparently is one of the strongest materials, so seeing that established and then finding out that this obviously doesn't have sea stone in it because Luffy's able to now use his devil fruit, it means that it's not that strong compared to that. And so I feel like Luffy could easily snap it, get out of it like it's nothing, but at the same time, I highly doubt someone like Queen would have someone as strong as Luffy and know full well that Luffy's really strong and put something that he could probably easily break out of. So there has to be some form of multi-layers to this that, you know, we're unaware of, or maybe it's stronger than we realized. But still, though, I think at this time, though, Luffy probably could easily get out of it, and this might be building up for the scene that kind of replicates what Rayleigh did in, a long time ago before the time skip. You remember when Rayleigh, he had the collar on and all that, and he just broke it like nothing. He just completely snapped it before it exploded. I wonder if that's what we're going to see from Luffy. He might do something very similar. He might use his haki or whatever just to completely break it before it, even engages and the blades come out. I could see him doing that for, Luffy doing it for himself, but Luffy also doing it for Hyo. That's definitely a thing, and I feel like Oda might be hinting at that to kind of show how much Luffy has progressed since the very beginning. Now also, in terms of other scenes from that segment, we have it to where Raizo, he actually encounters the dude inside the gate that's been a mystery that just has the eyes and been eating rotten fish. The dude is apparently connected with the samurai. He's actually someone that is going to join their cause, so that is very nice to see. So the character has been now revealed to be just a samurai. So it isn't a character that we have seen before, because from his dialogue we get from this chapter, it doesn't seem like anything we have actually seen before from another character, so that does mean that it's not like the Furies have said. Some were saying Furies, and myself, I was kind of hoping in some ways it might be Arlong or someone, a part of the Fishman Pirates because of him eating rotten fish, but obviously that's not the case. He might still be a fishman, but at the same time, though, we do know now that he's probably an entirely new character that's unaffiliated with anything else that's happened in the past. But for Oda to kind of hide him for so long, it does make me wonder, why would Oda hide his design? It has to be something very unique, either hilarious, because Oda likes doing stuff like this, having character designs are just outright hilarious, and you have to stop reading for a second just to crack up and laugh. That could be the case, or this character could look like someone that's very identical to a character we met, which would mean that he's a relative, and yeah, maybe he looks like Zoro. I mean, that's another thing. Remember, that's a big thing about this arc that many have been talking about, is that it's implied that Zoro could potentially be from this country, Wano country. So it would be insane if we found out that the samurai was actually Zoro's father. Like, he might look exactly like Zoro. He might have green hair. He might have the entire body structure like Zoro, which would be pretty freaking ridiculous if that is the case. So, who knows? Maybe that is the direction Oda's going with his character, to kind of hide the silhouette and make him just completely pitch black. Anyways, we don't even know the condition he's in either. We don't even know if he's healthy or not, because he's been eating rotten fish for years, which basically implies he's malnourished. He's not been doing much at all, and I highly doubt, since he's been chained up and locked up and it's rusted, that would mean that he most likely hasn't really been doing a lot of exercise. So how has he been training and exercising besides just eating rotten fish? Curious. So, anything else really to get into? Let's see. We covered the Conqueror's Haki, Queen. We covered the whole situation with, Luffy and Sanji. I think... Oh, yeah, one actual scene that needs to be clarified. That is Beppo. Beppo has been captured, which is kind of scary, because Beppo, him being caught like that has me kind of worried, because remember what Law said a few chapters back? He said to Usopp, he's like, oh, if you get caught, just make sure you end yourself. If you end yourself, for you don't leak any information or ruin the entire operation. I wonder if Law's crew will follow through with what Law said and do that. And if that is the case, that would really put in perspective of Law, like, how he needs to kind of change his mentality. But I highly doubt it would go that dark. But I find it very ironic that, Law was warning the Straw Hats that they would be captured and they might spill the beans, but it turns out that Law's crew is captured, and they probably spilled the beans and information got leaked out, thanks to Hawkins finding it out. So, kind of curious about that. I do hope that that is explained very soon, but I think I want to end this video here, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like, and if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. With that, Chibi out.